welcome to Digital Shift, also known as Corporate Evolution Tales. Join us as we dive into the dynamic world of digital transformation. From illuminating case studies to captivating narratives, we uncover the stories behind companies' journeys toward digital excellence. Whether you are a seasoned corporate leader or an aspiring innovator, our podcast explores the shifts, challenges of modern business evolution. Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Digital Shift, aka Corporate Evolution Tales. And today, my guest is Ajay. Thank you, Ajay, so much for being my guest today and accepting the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Mariam.
Awesome. Would you like to present yourself before we will dive into digital transformation?
Absolutely. Yeah, so my name is again Ajay Rajasekharan. I am currently a senior director of machine learning at Sponsor United. I used to be in a few different roles in the last 15, 20 years of my career since I graduated with a PhD in computational mathematics. Um, I worked across multiple industries, big and small, from manufacturing industries through healthcare, through cybersecurity, through startups in MarTech, etc. So, yeah, it's been a interesting landscape the last 15 years, as you
Mm-hmm.
know, with a lot of different changes, and just even in the last 2, 3 years has been so transformative. Yeah, glad to be here and share some of my learnings.
Amazing. Okay, let's dive to digital transformation. So, what are your thoughts on digital transformation? What does those words mean to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. To me, digital transformation is a must-have for any company. What I mean by that, in my understanding of digital transformation, and the way I have seen it being applied, is automation of things that will save cost,
Mhm.
save time, improve accuracy, right? Means and customer experience, for example, and overall actually make the business more productive and
Mhm.
move forward, right? So that's kind of what I feel digital transformation is, and this is all happening with the aid of a combination of people, process, and technology. The technology
Mhm.
being the key ingredient towards that part, right? So that's kind of how I see digital transformation being applied in various sectors.
Amazing. So you mentioned the people, which is one of the aspects of digital transformation and the processes. Is there any way that you think we need to find out those people that are able to support the digital transformation? Are there any tips that you can share?
Yes. So everything starts with a problem. That's how I think. I think if you don't start with a
Mm-hmm.
problem, then you really run into problems, right? I'll give you an example. If you are looking at some new happenings in AI and you just want to implement AI, right? That's not the way
Mm-hmm.
you should approach this problem. You should actually always approach the problem from what is it that you want to solve, right? What is it that you want to improve? And that's where I
Mm-hmm.
come back to your question on people, right? So you will really have to focus on areas or where people are having hard time in actually improving the process, for example, or getting better turnaround times, for example, or getting better customer experience, for example. So those are the people whom you
Mm-hmm.
start with. They are the real people who are have a solid understanding of the domain, who have real understanding
Yeah.
of how they may improve this situation, and that's where you
Mm-hmm.
start, and that's my starting point for people. Now when you talk about people, the right kind of people you have to bring in, and you have to combine
Mm-hmm.
talent across different skill levels. That is the second part of that, which we can talk more like, and that's
Right.
so does it help? Is that am I in the right, is that what you're asking in terms of people, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I will agree with you that it's all about the people that are actually in the process and they know they have kind of knowledge of what can be automated probably and they have the appropriate experience for that. And I will just add that based on the experience and so far what we discussed in these episodes is that a lot of people also think that it's about the motivation. So what do you think? Is it part of it that we need to have that motivation when starting doing the digital transformation?
Yes, no, I totally agree. Yes, definitely it is the motivation, right? So people who most of this is known by people across the company, right? People who are working on those problems, they know exactly what they have to improve. They know what an end goal might look like for them,
Mm-hmm.
really tapping into that, but then formalizing that in terms of metrics, right? Because metrics is very important when you do
Mm-hmm.
digital transformation. You really want to know um, what is it that you're going to change, what is the metrics you're going to track, and how do you expect digital transformation to change those metrics, right? And what is the time scale for that? Because you really need to
Mm-hmm.
understand all of those pieces even before you embark on the project, because some things will take a long time and you really need to know that it's going to take a long time. And these measurements will only show effect over a period of time. For example, if you're investing in a
Mm-hmm.
new technology, it's going to be expensive to begin with, but you should have an understanding of, if I am going to put this technology into use in the right fashion, in about 5 years I will cut over and
Yeah.
actually I'll be getting a return of interest. So I think, yeah, starting with
Mm-hmm.
people problems, defining metrics, and also actually
Mm-hmm.
scoping this out over the time scale is very important. That's kind of how. So coming back to your question, yeah, that's all starting with that motivation of improving this process or experience, and then how do you actually translate that into hard metrics
Yeah.
and and
Yes.
roadmaps, right? So that's very important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when we are speaking about metrics, are there coming any success metrics for you that we can think about when saying, okay, this is successful digital transformation? What kind of metrics we can have there?
Yes. So it depends on the problem at hand, but overall, most digital transformation metrics will have something to do with cost, right? Means will have something to do with doing things faster with cost. For example, customer service is a great example, or uh, for a digital transformation, right? Where you can actually maybe measure the amount of times an agent has to work through to complete a particular task, right? So that's a
Mm-hmm.
very good example. And if you can as your business scales, you need more customer service agents, you need more,
Right.
means they are going to be taxed a lot more, right? Means so
Mm-hmm.
having the human in the loop with the technology that makes them more productive will actually reduce the time. The second thing is quality, right? How
Mm-hmm.
you measure quality can be different kinds of metrics.
Yes.
It can be customer satisfaction, for example. It's a good metric. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
picking one example, but it could vary depending on the problem you're looking at. And
Yes.
you can actually rank order what are these metrics, right? What is the first thing you really want? What is the next thing you want? Even the
Mm-hmm.
employee experience is very important. You don't want them to be burned out.
Agree.
You want them to feel good and
Yeah.
actually be their productive best. That's another metric, for
Right.
example. Right? So am I like,
Mm-hmm.
I think there are a lot of metrics, and then how do you measure them becomes the tougher part, right? Means how do you
Mm-hmm.
know? You have to put processes in place to measure them. That'll be the
Yes.
second.
Agree. And when we are speaking about the satisfaction specifically of employees, it's always one of the hot talking points, the fear of digital transformation and the thing that they can be replaced by the process that is automated. But I think that generally it's actually there are people that are supporting those changes. So
Yeah,
it's always that we are improving the process and we are helping them to have more productive way of
correct.
working, probably. I think we can say in that way. What do you think?
Exactly right. Exactly right. That's exactly the way to think about it. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. It's
Mm-hmm.
because I can give like from 10, 15 years before examples where people used to write things all in Excel and they had to do all kinds of stuff on Excel, right?
Yes.
And it's really takes a toll on folks when they're working. Now I'm just picking a simple example. Now you think about putting those like data transformations and then adding them to a
Mm-hmm.
database, and then where they can actually query and go faster with it. It makes their life so easy,
Yeah.
right? And that's it makes things move fast. It allows them to free up their mind to do more innovation, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the main thing, and innovation actually translates to growth for the company eventually. So
Yeah.
that's exactly to your point. That's exactly what. So things that tasks that are really laborious, which is repetitive,
Yeah.
that is kind of what you want to kind of focus on
Mm-hmm.
and automate, so that people can be more productive with better innovation. So
Right.
that's kind of we can go to the next stage.
Mm-hmm. Agree. And when we are speaking about challenges, What are your thoughts? Like, what are the common challenges that we have usually in digital transformation that we should be aware of?
Yes. Um, I think one of the challenges we kind of touched upon is understanding what is it that we really want to transform, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it looks very easy to say, but it's not that
Yeah.
easy in my experience because you really
Mm-hmm.
need thoughtful leaders and a thoughtful team, like a collaborative team, to
Right.
actually come up with that. So that's a really, really
Mm-hmm.
big challenge I see because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I have seen where like people are coming up with solutions before they know the problem, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody's interested in solutions because you can actually see other people doing something similar to
Right.
or very
Yeah.
exciting, but you are trying to fit that to a problem, right? And that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
work. So I think that's challenge number one. The challenge number two is how do you get the right kind of skills together who work collaboratively? And it's a big, to me, most of
Mm-hmm.
digital transformation is a people problem because if you can
Yeah.
get the right kind of people who can work together and who are equally passionate to solve that problem, that's
Mm-hmm.
very important. I think the third thing is also related to people in some sense is related to which, from top down you need a lot more means approach towards okay we are in it together, we are going to solve this problem, we
Mm-hmm.
know that it's going to take time, so you need a lot of
Yes.
executive confidence in what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing too. Technology is the other
Yes.
part, but technology is a wise choice of technology happens with the right skills of people whom you are actually
Yeah.
bringing in into your team.
Mm-hmm. Agree. And when we are speaking about technologies, one of the things that we have, and we spoke about this with the other guests as well, is the cost of the technology that you need for digital transformation. And during the transformation, or during the research, or like looking through the stuff that we have, a lot of technologies that we are using are duplicating, like the features are duplicated in different features and different products, and there is a lot of cost that is coming with it, a lot of like a big amount of money that is wasted on that. So what do you think about generally like the technologies, how we can handle that part when we are moving, when we are starting digital transformation, how we can handle that cost, not to like be as productive as it can be?
That is definitely a very important point, and I don't think I have an answer completely to it. But you're absolutely right. When you're starting off as a startup, like you are open to all kinds of new technologies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Means you may, as you said, there may be overlapping pieces of software that you buy to do different things in
Yes.
teams get bigger, then it's even more worse because people are using the same tool. Like some may be using
Yeah.
Tableau, some may be using something else similar to Tableau,
Mm-hmm.
some may be doing
Mm-hmm.
Python, Plotly, and like all of these are solving the
Yeah.
same problems. Or you may be spending a lot more money. I think uh, I think the best way is to bring like from a like digital transformation goes with consistent changes in team structures too or
Mm-hmm.
organization structures, wherein you can see people bringing similar areas together. So, for example,
Mm-hmm.
um, earlier on, uh, business consulting, and it might be still the same. So, business intelligence used to be a separate team within each vertical within the company. Right now, they are getting
Yeah.
consolidated as a data science team, for example, and then you can
Mm-hmm.
consolidate the technology that data science really requires in that particular area.
Yes.
Data engineering is another aspect, right? So we had silos of different
Mm-hmm.
kinds of databases lying around. Now, how do you bring all of those things together? Because together, the looking at the whole data sets together is very important and critical for you to actually move better and
Mm-hmm.
move fast. So how do you bring those things together? I think those are all not easy tasks, but I think
Yeah.
over a period of time you will actually see the benefits of that. You'll as one of the aspects
Mm-hmm.
is what you just mentioned, wherein you can reduce the overlaps of the kind of features that
Mm-hmm.
each technology provider is providing you, but at the same time you will actually have a chance to choose the right technology for your company, right? That's the advantage that comes along with it. Means
Agree. And when we are speaking about all this, I think we should also mention the documentation, how important it is during the process of digital transformation. And also, when you are already done, looking back on the stuff that that has been done, and the changes that were registered. So, do you agree that we need to have proper documentation, or What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, means absolutely. Means documentation is very important. Definitely agree. But I know that it is kind of a two-sided. Well, especially when people want to move fast, they don't like documentation, right? Means because
Yes,
it is an
exactly.
overhead in some sense.
Hmm.
But at the same time, to your point, um, things change over a period of time, and you don't know how things
Yeah.
have been done before. People move around, right? Means people are no
Hmm.
longer always with the company, right? So
Hmm.
documentation is very important. Documentation is very important to understand every piece of what has
Hmm.
happened. I can also give you another example. Like today's world of AI, like a lot of the, for example, SQL queries are trying to be. We are trying to automate some of the SQL
Hmm.
queries right, within AI. But again, a lot of the things, if you go to bigger companies, you have to be in the company for a few years to understand the total
Yeah,
layout of your data. It takes a lot of time to understand. If these things are
agree.
documented pretty well, uh, today's AI could
Hmm.
actually explain to you what data that you're looking for, what are the tables that needs to be joined together. That semantic
Yeah.
layer comes automatically for you. So there is a lot of advantages of actual documentation. I think
Hmm.
we should invest effort, but that has to be factored into the work, right? Otherwise, you would think
Yeah.
that it's that's very important. As long as you factor documentation is very important piece of
Hmm.
your work, then it's super helpful for you as a company. Means, I agree
Hmm.
with.
Yeah, agree. And when we spoke about the people and how to look for those uh, favorite people that can support, but generally when we need to communicate, is it for you? Is it important to have that transparent discussion with the team that will be involved in digital transformation, or is it more about like just do that? We will discuss it later. How is it for you? And is it generally important or not?
Yes, it's very, very important to have everyone on board. Means you should be communication is very important in digital
Mm-hmm.
transformation. Yeah, because as you said, I think you made a point earlier. Like you can be very simple, right? Means you are talking
Yeah.
about customer service agents, and you are sitting in your ivory tower coming up with a solution that won't work, right? Means they have to
Mm-hmm.
be the people who are benefiting. They are the ones who are benefiting from a technology change. So they
Mm-hmm.
are prime and center to this technology improvements, right? So to your point, we really need everyone on board. It is not just a one-way
Yeah.
communication. It's a discussion, and only through that you will come up with innovative solutions. Because each team,
Mm-hmm.
each area needs a different solution, and that only comes through that collaborative discussion. Um, and
Yeah.
along with that goes up skill up. Skilling means
Mm-hmm.
people who don't know anything about the domain will learn a lot more about the domain. People who have a lot of
Yeah.
domain expertise will learn a lot more about technology, right? And it's going to be enrichment for everybody in the team. So that's a very critical aspect, because
Agree.
that's the only way people are involved to actually move forward, and
Yeah.
that's part of what leadership should always be looking for. That's very important.
Yes. Yes. And when you just mentioned the leadership team. Do you think what should be the ideal leadership team for having good digital transformation?
As we talked, it's a very collaborative team, right? If you are going into a purely manufacturing company, like means people, typical
Mm-hmm.
leadership teams are people who have had a lot of experience in that area, right?
Yeah.
But you're trying to do digital transformation, and in this case, you really want to bring in people who have a ton of experience in the
Mm-hmm.
digital side as well. Very good if you can get people who have done that before, but it's typically very hard to
Sure.
do, to find people like that. So the idea is to bring in people who have solid expertise in the area that you are expecting to improve your company in, but at
Mm-hmm.
the same time you're combining them with people who are very strong in their domain. And so I think two
Yeah.
things go along with it: strong technical expertise when you bring people on board to do this digital transformation,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time people who have that ability and who have the willingness to learn more about the business and the domain is very
Yeah.
important when you bring in that leadership, because otherwise it won't work. Otherwise it will only work one way, because you will try to implement stuff from what you know, but you really have to have
Yeah.
an open mind to understand the business and domain. So that's, I think, that comes with the hiring side of it, but I think that is a
Mm-hmm.
critical part of what leadership should be. And then people who can understand, means who have, who are very business savvy as well as being digital
Well, so many good points mentioned. I think our listeners will agree on all the stuff that you just shared, and we touched so many good points. Well, thank you so much, Ajay, for being my guest today and sharing your knowledge with us. I'm sure you will be available in LinkedIn for other questions if anyone will have them. So, thank you again and have a great day.